Make sure we're live. Make sure we're live.
Oh, mine's about to echo. Let me find it. Boom.
Let me get everything set up. There we go. I see us.
Let's go.
I see those good-looking devils. Let me go and tag everybody right now. Tag everybody right now. Okay. Let me hop on.
Bam.
I'm going to make a post on my Instagram real quick. Hey, if you're hopping in, welcome, welcome. Welcome. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, we're actually going to get on the phone, see you make some live calls to sellers, go over some of the stuff that we talk about or some of the terms and I guess the script that you use when you're talking to sellers, because I've seen you do it before, so I'm pretty excited to see other people or have other people watch you do it. And what would be so sick is if you get somebody to say yes on this live call, because these are going to be like straight cold calls to realtors for properties that are currently listed and live on Zillow. But yeah, you've never talked to any of these people you're about to, correct?
No, I haven't. We're just gonna hop on Zillow. I'm even gonna do a little bit of like R&D, like show you guys how we find the properties, how we're sorting through them on Zillow, and we're gonna use really resources that are available to everybody. So nothing crazy, nothing fancy. It's really simple actually, and that's the beauty of it. Is it's something that once you guys get off this phone call, you should be able to just hop on and like do it yourself, like literally like in your own market. And so given, the time, we're going to be, we are cutting it a little late in the time of day, but we'll find some markets where we can get some people on the calls. So join now. Hey, so if you're here, welcome everybody that's here. I want to hear you in the comments. Go ahead and engage below. If you're here and this is your first time, I want you to give me a thumbs up. I want to see the people that are here for the first time. We're now finally streaming on multiple platforms, which I'm stoked about. We're on YouTube. We're on the Facebook page. But then if you're here and you've been here before, go ahead and give me a peace sign, because I know a handful of you have been here multiple times. But today, again, for those of you catching up, we are going to be doing live calls. Today's call is just going to be dedicated to us just picking up the phone call, making calls, letting people know what's up. The crazy part about it is we're going to be using resources that are available to everybody. Really, I mean, more than anything, it's just Zillow is the big one. But then I do have a script that I will share with you guys at the end of this call. So we'll put it in the comments at the end of this call. Make sure you guys stay till the end for that script. And we'll get you guys a link to it. But for the most part, this is going to be, I'm stoked about this, dude. I'm stoked about this, John.
Yeah, me too.
Fun. And we're definitely actually, yeah. And I think Bree, welcome. Sefa, my guy, welcome, brother. I think you just joined, if I'm not mistaken, Sefa, the group. So welcome, my friend. By way of introduction, let's do a few introductions for those that are new. I'll go ahead and introduce myself. As many of you know, my name is Lama Kinikini. Many of you probably don't know. I am the owner, admin of this community. I also own a company at which John is a part of, where we essentially we own about 200 plus doors. We are STR 98% of our portfolio, and our niche is kind of the creative finance into short-term rentals. So that's kind of us in a nutshell. A lot of people know me in two different worlds: the investment world of my investment portfolio, and then a lot of people also know me obviously from the STR coaching space. But that's kind of me in a nutshell. John, tell us a little bit about yourself, your story. You're also going to be taking calls today, which I'm excited
about. Shoot, you didn't tell me that, homie.
Hell no, you taking calls, bro.
My name's John Davis. I am, like I said, like Lame said here now, working with Lame at his company, and day in and day out, I work with investors and raising money for our deals. However, before I did that, my wife and I, a couple of years ago, I did mortgages, and I was a police officer, and we wanted her to get out of her job, and I wanted to leave mine. So we started a short-term rental company. So I went through the training in both the 6FF and in this group that we're, about how to do this creative financing. And so I have done this, and I have actually I've made calls, I've closed deals doing this exact process. And so that's why I'm here now. I've just started doing decent, and Lame brought me on board to now help with some investors. And then I've had a lot of help along the way. I really have. And so I get a lot of fulfillment of helping other people like go along this journey, whether they're just starting. And I'm at a different spot than Lame, just like maybe a couple years behind, but I know the people that are maybe a couple years behind me, and I just want to help. That's why I come on these calls, because I'm not as far as Lame is, but I still am stoked to share what I've learned from it. So
that's why I'm excited to have you on this call, John, for you to take some of these calls, for people to see really how simple it really is. Because again, John's journey in this is only really a few. When did you start B Flip Davis?
February of 2023.
Yeah. See, so it's like, I mean, you're less than 2 years at this point.
Yeah.
You built a fairly successful. I know it retired you, right? You guys, how many doors did you guys have when you guys first started? You guys did like 11, right? 11 or 12.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And then I quit the PD. Now I'm full time on this. So
let's go. And I think that's really important for you guys to understand, because John's story is really similar to a lot of your guys's. And that's why I'm excited for him to take some of these calls. Obviously, you're going to see me take some calls. But I want you guys to realize that it really isn't rocket science. It isn't. And I would dare say that we're probably going to see some very good and valuable conversations today. I feel like every time we've done lives, we've gotten enough interest to be able to follow up with a handful of them. If I'm not mistaken, John. I mean, because I've done this before, obviously, in the caster group and some of these other communities. So, okay. Well, again, if you're here, I want to hear comments, contributions, especially as you guys see us do our thing. John, why don't we just go ahead and take it away? So again, we are just doing live calls. This is completely off the cuff, guys. We are going to be making real calls to sellers. I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to screen share here in a sec, how we find motivated sellers just off of Zillow. So none of this is rocket science, and none of this is, crazy. It's just stuff of your everyday tools. But is there anything else you want to say before we kick this off, John?
No, I think this is, I would take some notes. You'll probably hear us saying a lot of the same stuff. You'll also see Lame's got his own way of talking that's just very natural, and I tried to be similar, although I'm not Lame, but you'll see two totally different perspectives, but I think also very similar, because I learned from him. So I'm excited.
Okay, so we are here at Zillow. I want to hear in the comments, like, where should we start? What markets should we start in, John? Like, and I'm even open to taking some suggestions. If you guys want us to make calls in certain markets, let us know in the comments below. But what are you saying, John?
That'd be a great idea. So before we got on, I have not looked. I looked at Reno, and I only did that because it's on the West Coast, and but I did for time, so I'm not calling East Coast properties. I don't own any properties in Reno. I don't know anything about the market, so I picked that just because of East Coast. But I don't know. If somebody has a recommendation of a property, or of not a property, but a market they want to go to, that would be really fun too. So then they could see that this is not scripted or planned ahead at all. Yeah. We could take a suggestion and do it that way too.
So this is Reno. You're saying Reno, Nevada?
Yeah, just because it's close and the time zones is West Coast.
This is West Coast. You said East Coast. That's why I was like, is there another?
My bad.
Okay, West Coast right here. West Coast. Okay, so we're here at Zillow. Okay, all I did was I just typed in Reno, Nevada. I got rid of the boundary. There were some presets on here that I erased. But what I want to do at this point is now use the filters to essentially narrow my funnel down to what I'm looking for. Okay.
Hey, Lame, let's use, if it is the time zones similar, let's use Tucson, since that's coming from Bree.
Tucson. Okay. Let's do Tucson.
Let's do it since it's coming from her. Right.
Okay. So Tucson, Arizona. Thanks for the suggestion, Bree. We're going to remove the boundary. Okay. So typically when you type in a city, it'll give you the actual city boundaries, but I want to remove the boundary because, as many of you may know that our operators, sometimes some of our best markets are the sub markets just outside of the main cities, right? And so I want to open it up. Bree, so you mentioned Tucson. It sounds like you may have some familiarity with this. If I understand my market, then you should already have a basis of understanding of what properties, what type of properties do well. Everything from the purchase price to the bed, bath, everything like that. And so, Bree, I don't know if you have those numbers offhand, but I'm just gonna guess. I'm just gonna say, hey, I imagine in this area we're probably gonna have I want to look for 3+ bedrooms, any bathrooms really, and then home types. And again, if I know my market well or I have a portfolio, all I'm doing is I'm drawing a hard line of my top 10% best performing properties, and I'm looking for similar properties of my best performers. Your best data is your own portfolio. For those of you that are running management companies, and for those of you that aren't, AirDNA is a good resource. AirDNA is huge to be able to do that. And I don't want to go. This isn't going to be an underwriting thing, but we'll essentially get to that one at some point in the future of how to underwrite a market. But for now, we're just going to look for motivated sellers, and we're going to assume you already know your buy box. So I'm in Tucson, Arizona. I'm looking for 3 bedrooms, 1+ bath or more, or 3 bedrooms or more. Typically, the houses are really what I'm looking for, but I'll probably add townhomes in here as well. Some townhomes tend to do well. I don't know. Again, I don't know Arizona, so this is just an example. But then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to adjust some of these. I don't want to look at auctions, foreclosures, new constructions. I do want to look at agent and owner listed. I do not want to look at coming soons, okay? And then this is really important. I'm going to go down on Zillow and I'm going to do 90 days, and then I'm going to click apply, okay? So now I've filtered all of these. I've filtered the criteria of the property. I have filtered the bed and bath, the home type, and then I filtered time on market, okay? So now that I have it time on market, I'm going to come here to this side, and I'm going to sort newest, okay? What this is saying is I'm now filtering the properties that have been on the MLS, the newest ones first and the oldest ones last, which means the further I go back on this Zillow sheet, the longer they've been on market, right?
One quick question, Lame, I had when I first started. I'm sure somebody's going to ask specifically to that. Why not 180 or 360 days?
That's a good question. So typically once you're above 90 days, a lot of the times those properties that are sitting on market longer than that, 6 months, because on the filter, you'll see it only is 90 days and then it jumps to 6 months. And the reason for that is because the reason I want to do 90 days is usually they're still within that window of hurt that they haven't done something else with the property. If they're outside of that, once they're at like a few months, typically it's like, oh, there's a renter in there, or, oh, it actually isn't for sale anymore. We just, we just forgot to take it down. There's a lot of that. And so 90 days typically for me, in my experience, is essentially being able to show that there's still enough hurt and there's still an opportunity for me to be able to take advantage of this property. So great question. I'm going to narrow down the buy box a little bit. We'll look at properties that are from 350 to maybe go above 1.25. So we're not looking at everything. And then again, I have my newest filter on here. So I'm going to scroll all the way down, and then I'm just going to, not all the way down, but I'm just going to keep scrolling on back. And again, the further I go, the longer these will have been on market, right? So as I come back here, hold on, it looks like, and there's a ton of them. So
holy moly.
I'm interested to see how far back we go and how long these have been on market for, but I don't want to click on one just yet. I want to go back a few more pages.
One great thing right away, if people aren't catching this, right? We're in one city, Tucson, Arizona. You've put down all of those filters. Granted, there's probably a large number of those that are just posted within the last 30 days. So if say that's a third of the list, that still leaves, I think, did it say 1,600? That's still going to leave like, or is it 1,000? You go too fast. I can't see. Either way, several hundred houses that you can start calling on right away in just one city.
And right? Just in the game of sales, guys, that's what this is. It really is just a game of it's a game of numbers, right? You could be the worst like communicator in the world, but if you just make enough calls, you'll find somebody. And that rings true with creative. If you just call enough people, you will find a deal inevitably. So, okay. So now that we're here, I'm at the final page. That means these properties have been listed the longest on market. And I'm going to click on one and it's going to load the details. Looks like there's been a price cut and bada boom, bada bing. This has been on Zillow for 57 days. Now, this is important, right? Because what does these days on market tell me, John? Like, what are some of these things that automatically we're seeing right off the bat?
Possibly that this homeowner is motivated to sell for a few reasons. One, either they're not getting the price that they want, and two, that this house is not selling. And it could be for so many different reasons, but they've dropped the price. So we know they're trying to get the house sold, because if they were just stuck on a purchase price, they would keep it at the same forever until they got that price. But they've dropped the price now once already, which means, hey, realtor, do something to get this house to move. And then you've also seen some interest. There's people that have looked at it and saved this, but no one's probably made a real legitimate offer because they've had those views and those saves, but it's still up there for sale. So those are like two things that come to mind for me. And it's on there for 57 days. So they're in that like 2 months of not even having it pending or anything like that. And so those are like,
exactly.
That's what we're looking at.
Absolutely. And when you come again, there's multiple that are like this, right? When I come and I look at this 57, 1,600 views, 122 saves. That's wild. That just tells me that there is some interest, or at the very least, motivation to move the property. Okay. And then when I'm coming here, an important thing is I am not clicking on contact agent. Okay. And the reason for that is because this is a funnel to get you in front of a seller represented or a buyer represented agent. And so you're just going to get blown up with a bunch of like spam calls from Zillow agents that want to represent you. Part of the technique in what we do is we are intentionally calling these sellers as unrepresented individuals. Like, we're literally just calling them and saying, hey, I'm just a buyer, right? And that brings a lot of walls down, but it also gives you a leveraging chip that you'll hear when we make these calls that allows us to progress and move the conversation negotiations forward. Okay, so we're at this property. I'm doing a quick eye scan. I'm looking at it. There's motivation. I saw that. I'm looking at this property. It's beautiful. Has a pool in the backyard. Not a pool. I thought it was a pool. Not a pool, but it has beautiful backyard still. Has a little green. Has some room. I like it. Okay, so I'm not contacting agent. Once I've identified motivation, once I've saw a property that fits the criteria, looks fairly good, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here, and this is where you look at who to call. It's listed by, and a lot of times I'll have two numbers on here. One of these is usually the broker, and then the other is typically the actual like listing agent. And I'm going to try and call both of them. Okay. And so we have now arrived at the part that everybody's excited about. And this call I am handing off to John. Johnny boy.
Oh, I'm taking the first one.
Johnny boy, you're taking the first one, brother.
Dude,
you're taking the first one. So we're going to knock these out. We're going to move pretty quick. I wanted to do that intro so that you guys see what I'm looking for initially so that we can start clicking through. And because we may not get pickups or whatever. And so we're going to try and get a few calls going so that we can get.
What's the address?
The address on this one is 12342 North Larissa Drive.
Northwest Larissa. All right, sweet. And what's the agent's name there? Kathy
Baldoff is the first one, and then Danny Little is the next one.
All right, let's see it.
All right, brother. Here we go. Ring, 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 ring.
Hello, this is Kathy.
Hey, Kathy, this is John. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good. Hey, I'm calling about your property on Larissa Drive. I saw it on Zillow. Wanted to see if I could ask you a few questions about it.
Sure.
I see it's been listed for quite a while. Has there been any action on it, or is it just kind of sitting there?
We've had some interest, but yeah, it hasn't gone under contract yet.
Okay. I mean, Full transparency, I don't waste your time. I'm an investor. I'm an end buyer. My partner and I, my wife and I, we buy short-term rentals all over. And full transparency, we do not have anything in Tucson, but we want to come to that market. And so I'm looking at this house and it looks like it would be killer as an Airbnb. Do you have short-term rentals that you've sold around there, or do you know of any that are kind of popping in that area?
No, I don't know of any in that area.
Oh, okay. Well, I see the numbers that for me look pretty good on it. I would like to make an offer. Do you think the seller would be opposed at all to selling it on terms?
Like what? Like what are you suggesting?
Yeah. So instead of going and getting a bank loan on this or anything like that, I would be working directly with you guys to either one, take over their existing mortgage, or two.
No, they can't do that.
Oh,
They own it free and clear, but they just need it sold outright.
oh, they need to take all the cash. They wouldn't want to take just some of it.
Well, they own it free and clear.
Okay. Well, then the other way is what if we made them the bank? What if I still made them an offer, close to purchase price or the full asking price, and then
they can't buy without the full amount.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So they're trying to use this to buy another house.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it doesn't work for everybody, but yeah, I can't make an offer. I can't give them all the cash. It would be a smaller down payment, and then I'd want them to carry the rest. But
yeah, no, they can't do that, unfortunately. But thank you.
Okay, nope, thank you, Kathy. Do
bye.
you have any other listings that would maybe be interested in something like that?
At a higher price point, but I mean, I have a one for 650,000, but they would need at least 450.
Oh, dang. So they need a whole bunch of money out of it as well, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Now we're trying to get a little bit smaller down payment so we can bring in an investor and turn it into an Airbnb. If we have to bring all the money, that kind of kills our numbers,
Yep, I get it. All right,
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. All right, bye.
Bada boom, bada bing. Okay, that was a good one.
I'm not going to lie. I got distracted because I was trying to keep track of all my live videos going, and I unmuted one on accident. And then I was like, wait, what am I talking about?
No, you did great, bro. You did great. And I want to talk through this one because I want to give you some feedback of what you did great, some things I want you to improve on, and then I want you to make the next call and kind of implement some of these calls. First and foremost, I don't know if you guys noticed, but he did a great job of clarifying that he's an end buyer. The reason why that is important is because a lot of these agents are getting calls from wholesalers, from people that are trying to essentially lock up this deal that aren't necessarily in and of themselves capable of moving the deal, right? And so a lot of the times what's happening is they don't understand enough about how to transact these deals in different ways to where in their mind, they're kind of just checking you off as somebody that's a wholesaler and not a legitimate end buyer. And so being able to like come out and say that, like, hey, I'm a credible buyer. This is what I'm doing. This is what we do, is a huge, like to me, that breaks down a lot of preoccupation with them. I think the second thing that you did really, really well was saying your intended purpose with it in terms of like, hey, so we're investors. We're going to buy this as a short-term rental. The numbers looked really good on our end. We just wanted to chat and have a bit more conversation about the property. Now, this is the point of the conversation that I would give some feedback, John. And this is for all of you as we're going through this, is asking more questions, right? That is the biggest secret in all of sales, is if you ask enough questions, a lot of the times they're going to tell you exactly what you need to know and their buying points to be able to then have enough to then be able to progress the conversation, right? And so some questions that I would ask is like, hey, I forgot what her name is. Hey, Sally, I just saw this property has been listed for a while. I noticed that, it's been listed for a while. Can you tell me a little bit more about some of the offers that you've seen? Can you tell me a little bit more about the situation of the buyers? Are they looking to buy another property with the proceeds? Is this something that is an investment property for them? Do they currently live in the property? Where are your buyers from? Right? These are all questions that I want to ask, really just to gain context so that I then can continue to have more conversations, or then be able to at least have more information for me to know how to tactically like present to them a deal that's going to make sense, right? And so that's like the biggest sauce in all of this is just making sure you're asking enough questions to be able to then get enough information to then, kind of tee up for, for the actual proposal or the offer, right? At least soft offer. And so that would be the one thing I would have you focus on right now, John, is like, let's do another call. And then I want you to just gain more, like ask more questions about the property, the owners, the situation, everything of that nature. And then that's going to allow us to then be able to, to progress the conversation forward and be able to strike a little bit better. If we're bringing up creative finance too early without speaking to the context at which they give us, then a lot of times it just won't progress very far at all. With that being said, there are also sellers that just, sellers agents that just, honestly, they're just ignorant. Like they just have no idea and they're just closed off. And so a lot of these calls may be just people that just aren't like, and that's the reality of this, guys, is it's a numbers game. But I'm telling you, there's enough motivation in this market where if you just call enough of them, you're going to have a conversation. You're going to find somebody that's interested. We buy a lot of deals by just doing exactly this, like literally monthly. And so it works. I promise you, we just got to do the right things. Okay, let's do another one. El Camino. We'll have you take another call, John, and then I will take one right after you. Let's call Julie. Julie Agraz. And there is the address right there.
I'm not going to be clicking around on my computer this time, so we'll see if that makes a difference. Julie, let's see, South Camino de las Quintas. Hey, I told you I speak Spanish, right?
You did tell me you speak Spanish. Give her a ring. Let's hear your Spanish, brother.
Julie.
Hey, if you guys have questions, comments, contributions, again, make sure that you leave them in the comments below. You're getting some props in the comments, John. Utu, welcome. Ricky, it's good to see you, brother. Bree, Tucson can be less progressive. I love it.
No answer. On to the next.
Okay, no answer on Julie. Okay, this one's on Carver Drive. We have Dale. Dale's here. 520-481-7920.
What street is this?
This is in Carver Lane.
Carver Lane.
Hi, this is Dale.
Hey, Dale, this is John Davis. How are you?
Hey, good.
Hey, I'm calling about your house on Carver Lane. That one. Yeah, I saw it on Zillow and just looking at it. I'm calling as a buyer and super interested in. Well, my wife and I we're into short-term rentals, and I'm super interested in getting into the Tucson market. And this looks like a good starter one for me. It looks like it's been on the market. You've been getting any offers on it?
The Carver one? Yeah, I had an offer over the weekend on that one.
Oh, okay. Is something the buyers are going to take, or did it not work out?
I doubt it. I don't know. Just weird chemistry on that one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll just pass.
Oh, that makes it easy. Are the sellers, are they currently living in it, or are they out of state, or is it a rental for them, or?
No, seller lives in it.
Okay. And then are they selling this house to buy another one, or are they?
She is going into assisted living. So the proceeds of that become her buy-in to buy into the assisted living.
Oh, okay. And then does she need all of the money to go into assisted living, or does she have a mortgage on this property?
She needs a ton of money for that.
Oh.
I can't tell you what the number is, but she's griped about it quite a few times.
Yeah, so that could be because a ton is different to a lot of people. That could be from what, like 20 grand to 400,000, or is she just?
Oh God, hers ours is hundreds. It's really, really expensive to buy in there. Yeah, it's a place in Colorado. It's quite nice. Blah, blah, blah. I watched a video tour of it for what it's worth. It seemed beautiful, but I've heard her say quite a few times how expensive it is. So I think I already know if I asked her the exact amount, it's kind of not my business, but she probably would tell it to me.
Yeah.
Are you looking for what? For seller finance?
Yeah. So my wife and I, we buy, we're the end buyer, and we're looking to turn these properties into short-term rentals. And with interest rates so high, the only way it really works for us right now is some type of seller carry or to take over their existing mortgage. So in doing that, we bring on partners, and part of that is not giving a huge down payment. So if she needs all the cash for this, that makes it kind of tough for us. But if she needed a smaller amount and she needed like monthly payments to cover her cost there, like as long as the numbers work out, that's still something that could possibly happen. Is she opposed to seller finance, or is that something she's open to?
Yeah, the problem is she needs that buyout. I mean, she's kind of in a unique position for a seller where the money immediately. Well, I guess it's just like if you go and buy another house.
Yeah, exactly.
You just don't physically get a house; you get basically a rental that you're living in.
Yeah.
It's a weird. I hope I don't ever end up being in that position. That's for sure.
Yeah, I know. Me neither. Definitely not.
Probably, honest to God, I wish I was in the position where I could work a deal with you, but I can tell right away that wouldn't work for her.
Well, it sounds like sorry.
There's for sure houses out there that you can do, this that are available either, via assumables or seller carrybacks or, anything like that. There's certainly properties out there.
Yeah, we're finding them, and it sounds like you definitely understand that side of it. Do you have other listings, or is this your main one right now?
No, I think I've got 8 right now. I've got 2 more coming on, so I'll be up to 10.
And what about those ones? Because purchase price isn't the issue. It's more about, can I get terms from a seller that make it where I can cash flow, but I can give them a purchase price that makes them very happy, so that, you still get paid, they get a purchase price they want, and on the back end, I can turn it into a beautiful Airbnb or VRBO and make money on it.
Sure. It makes sense. Well, I'll keep hold of your name in my phone, and when I'm back at the office, I'll take a look.
Yeah.
I'll talk to my business partner as well and say, is there any of our sellers that we might approach with that idea as a good way to get rid of one of the properties?
That would be awesome. And we would, if you want, I can send you an email with like kind of my buy box. And if something fits that buy box, like we move quickly. I'll pull the trigger. We get investors lined up on our side. They partner with us, and we're ready to move on these kind of right away. So if you've got 8 to 10 and 3 of them are open to seller finance, or even if they have, a mortgage where we can take it over, we have a transaction coordinator that can do all the paperwork to even take over a conventional loan, which I know most people don't think you can do that, and it's not technically assumable, but that's basically what we're doing with the conventional loans. And then I have a lady that's their whole company. That's all they do. So they make sure we're all protected on that. And yeah, so if you got 10 and you have a business partner that had some, and some of those people are interested, like those are deals we would move on really on.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Purchase price doesn't matter.
Grab my email.
Yeah.
If you don't have it, I can give it to you.
I just have your, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, my one, DaleArnold@hotmail.com is my personal one. I've got a business one, but you shoot it my personal one.
DaleArnold@hotmail.com.
Yeah, super simple.
Perfect. That's easy. I got it right there. So cool. I'll send you over an email with my buy box. It's really like rent ready properties. I'm not in the BRRRR or the flip game or anything like that. I'm an end buyer, and I want to close and turn it into an Airbnb immediately so I can start cash flowing. So rent ready, smaller down payment, usually 10%. And then on the interest rate, we're looking, less than 5%, less than 4.5%. But we can talk more about that if you have someone, just because there's a lot of pros and cons to doing that. But if we can work something out where, you get paid, the homeowner's happy, and then I'm happy on the back end, that would be super awesome.
Okay. Good deal, man. Good conversation. And just shoot over. I'll take a look at it.
You got it. Thanks, Dale.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Bada boom, bada bing. Bada boom, bada bing.
What do you think? That wasn't any better?
That was a great call. Okay. And we're going to break it down. And hopefully you guys are watching that and taking notes. Okay. A lot of good things there. Okay. And yeah, next time don't be clicking through while you're doing these calls, bro. So
that was the biggest difference. The first one I was trying to find the live. I was trying to find the other one. That one I muted you and stayed focused.
Hey, but I want to go through this, guys. So first and foremost, the thing that he did really great, comparable to the last one, is asking questions. Did you guys notice how the dialogue brings walls down with some of these realtors, right? When you're asking questions and asking the right questions, a lot of times they're just going to tell you everything. And we gained some great context of that seller by asking the right questions. What did he tell us? The seller lives in the home. The seller is needing a down payment that's 6 figures. The seller isn't in a position to do much wiggle room on the creative side of things because of this, that, the other. Now, mind you, that doesn't, because they say that they're not in a position to do that, doesn't always mean that that's the case. And that is always why we're asking questions to gain context, because a lot of times all it takes is us understanding the whole to then be able to present to them, or at least communicate to them, a solution that they may have not considered before. But a lot of times, if you don't know enough about it, they always have some excuse in the back of their head that if you didn't ask enough questions to get it out of them, it's an excuse as to why they're not going to do it, right? Or why they couldn't do it.
I think specifically to that, when he says she needs a ton of money, that can mean so many different things to a lot of people. And it could be she needs a ton of money because it's $1,000 a month for the next 20 years. Well, it's like, hey, you know what? If she only needs 20,000 in and then $1,000 a month, I can take care of that. If she needs 200,000 right now to get there, that's different. But just because people say that, you got to find out exactly. That was my thought process. Like, well, what if she only needs 25 to move there and then $2,000 a month payments to live there? Like, we can make that work.
1,000%. And then on top of it too, right? The final thing that we'll come around to, and then we'll make a few more calls, is how you turned that no into a yes by way of getting a lead, right? A lead source. Guys, this is why it's so easy, because if you have this many, we've only gone through 2 calls up to this point, and now we have somebody that has genuinely expressed some genuine interest at the least to transact some deals, understood creative, and gave us his contact to be able to follow up and check in. Imagine if I had 5 of those. If I had 5 of those with 10 listings, it's now 50 listings with an agent that understands creative, that heard what I was saying and is willing to work with me. Now it's like you have 50 leads from 5 calls, and you can't tell me you're not going to close something or come across something, right? Mm-hmm. And this is why this is so, like, why it's such a valuable resource to do business in today's market, is because there's so much hurt right now in the market that these deals are everywhere. They're available, and you can get them if you're just willing to just put in the work, put in a little bit of elbow grease. So great job, John. Hey, if you guys have questions about anything we're doing, anything we're saying, please do not hesitate to reach out in the comments. Let us know. Let me know if I'm missing anything, John, too. Okay. Now, the moment you guys have all been waiting for, Big Daddy's about to hop on the phone. So you guys are you're all going to see me get my teeth kicked in. That's what's about to happen right now. So
I'm secretly hoping the first guy cusses at you and then hangs up on you.
Hey, and honestly, I really hope he does too, because then you guys can see that's like how it goes. No matter how good you are, it's just a matter of just playing the numbers game. Okay, we are talking to Janet. Janet. All right, guys. I don't think Janet wants to make money, guys. Janet doesn't want us to make money, but I think Alexa does. Alexa would love to make some money. So let's call Alexa. Alexa on Sage.
I like the pep talk before the call. I do the same thing.
All right, let's Looks like Alexa doesn't want to hop on a call either. All right, Alexa. Okay, Catherine. Nobody wants to talk to me. Nobody wants to talk to me. 982. And just for like bookkeeping sake, I'm usually not like logging any of these until somebody picks up the phone. So like all I'm doing is I'm just essentially like putting these on a Excel sheet. I'm marking which ones I've called, but I don't put too much detailed notes unless I've spoken to them. And if I'm being really diligent, then I'm calling again another time. And then hi, is this Catherine?
Yeah.
Catherine, is it Donau? Am I saying that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Catherine, my name is Lame. It's good to meet you. Did I catch you at a good time?
Pretty good.
Okay, I am calling about the Placida Cuenta property in Green Valley.
Yeah.
I just to tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm an investor. I'm actually out of Utah, so I'm not in Tucson, but I am looking to purchase in Tucson. I buy quite a few homes. This one stuck out to me for a few reasons. One, it's been on market for a decent amount of time, but then also the area. I'm looking to purchase this as an investment. But I wanted to ask you, like, just get a little bit more context of it, see where the sellers are at with it and kind of their situation, because I know it's been listed for some time. And so, can you tell me a little bit about it?
Well, she doesn't have to sell.
Okay.
It's priced better than any other house in the area in the condition that it's in.
Yeah, it's a beautiful home. So
it's stunning. And so I don't know.
And yeah, no worries. And so it sounds like, are the sellers, are they living in it currently, or are they okay? And are they, I guess, why are they wanting to move? Do they have another property in mind that they're planning on purchasing, or?
It's just they decided to move.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. But it sounds like they're not in any crazy rush. Do I understand that right? Okay.
No, they're not even kind of in a crazy rush.
Yeah. And so, I mean, if they are deciding to move and they sell this, do they have another property under contract, or are they kind of waiting to see what this property does for them to like make the next move?
They're just going to wait.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, well, and the reason I ask is because like I said, as you know, right, as a seasoned realtor, there's a lot of ways to buy these properties. I'm sure you guys have probably gotten cash offers that you're probably not excited about, and I don't want to give you a cash offer you're not excited about. But depending on the context of the situation and what they're needing out of it, we buy a lot of properties creatively, where we're getting them a down payment. There's maybe a seller carry. A lot of times these sellers make quite a bit of money on the interest, just because of how the note's structured. And that's part of why I'm asking questions, is I'm trying to figure out if there's a way for, both of us to win here, because in a lot of cases, I'm happy to give them the purchase price. And sometimes I've overpaid for properties depending on the terms. Has that been a conversation you guys have ever entertained before?
No, I don't think they're wanting anything very creative. So
okay,
I don't think they're a good candidate.
Yeah, and so it sounds like there's not a number that would bring them to the table in terms of a down payment.
You mean like an owner carryback thing?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Is there a cash offer that they'd be interested in?
The purchase price?
Fair enough. Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate your time. Catherine, real quick before you go, we're money ready to buy a handful of properties. Do you have anything in your portfolio that you think a seller would be more open to a creative structure or a creative deal?
No, they're all older. They like things simple. And none of them have to sell. Yeah.
They're all just pretty comfortable. That's the best place to be. So,
yeah.
Okay. Well, you're awesome, Catherine. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. You have a good rest of your evening.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bada boom, bada bing.
There we go.
See, I told you guys, I just get my teeth kicked in.
No.
That I was actually that. Hopefully, you guys saw in that the importance of asking enough questions to truly understand the context of it. Now, there's a few things I threw in there. Well, I'll let you go first, John. Like, what were some of the things that you saw? What stood out to you? I'd love to hear some feedback from you, and then I'll kind of do a deep dive of myself of what I saw. So
yeah, I think what was great on this call that was different is this lady, I think you could tell from the beginning, just was not interested in the idea of something creative, but you were still able to give her all of that information just to make sure she understood exactly what you were asking without educating her in a rude way. That's what I really pulled from it. Like, you were still able, hey, we buy houses, you give them some of the benefits, they can make a ton of interest on the money that, they're carrying. So giving her information without being like, is really like, listen, idiot, do you want to make money or not? Like, being very, very, very kind and patient with somebody that you could get the vibe from right away. That's like, yeah, they want their cash offer for the full asking price, And so I really like that part.
100%. And really, to add to that, right, there's especially older crowd, right, for whatever reason, they're a bit more closed off and just kind of, they're set in their own ways. And that's not a bad thing. A lot of it is just getting over the hump of them, like, being willing to even just listen or even recognize that there's more ways to transact these deals. And so, but the important part is making sure that you're not giving up too early on these calls, right? There's a polite persistence that you can have to tactfully educate people that there are different ways to buy this. Notice how I'm also bringing up other ways to buy the property, right? It's like, hey, I could go get a hard money lender right now and give you a cash offer, right? But a cash offer that needs to make sense usually doesn't make sense for you, right? And that's kind of more or less what I was kind of pigeonholing them into, is like, hey, I could have a cash offer, but I don't want to give you that. Let's figure out something that gives your seller the most amount of money, right? And these are the conversations that we're having. So
a couple of quick questions to answer real quick.
Go ahead.
Either one of us, I think, can take these. Do you ever offer or give them your contact info in case they think on it and reconsider? I replied, or I started to. I think I did. I do. There's some people it's just not worth your time. I felt like my vibe from who you just talked to was like, it's not worth your time. She's never going to call back on any of them. But for some that are, or the house is just a banger that I just really want, then yes. So,
yep.
And then, do you think a lot of agents feel they aren't going to make much of a commission, so they're immediately shutting down on owner financing?
That's a really good question. That may be the case, because there's a lot of agents that do not understand that they're still taking a commission.
Yeah.
So that's a very common assumption. That actually is very good.
Which I think I think I made note of that in my second call, not on my first one, but like, hey, in a way where you still get paid when you're talking to the agent. It's just like there is a wall there and a barrier that, like, I mean, I know a lot of agents personally, but one thing they care about a lot is getting paid. And so if you can guarantee, or you tell them like, hey, you still get your commission, and even if you want to represent me, I don't care. That negotiation is between you and the seller. But if, I'm not represented, so you could also represent me, but then, but once they feel that, I think there is some pressure that's let off. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, 100%. And, one thing that we haven't done a great job, me and John, in either of these calls, is actually, presenting and leveraging that we are not agents, and that we're willing to essentially work with agents that bring deals to our table to allow them to represent us. And saying that is basically more or less saying, hey, let me pay you more, and that kind of eliminates that objection, which is something that, may or may not have, actually moved the needle a little bit more with Catherine or, the other lady that you had spoken to, John. So, listen, I feel like whenever we do calls, it always goes so fast. Like, this is already, we're already at the tail end of this, but I want to make one more call. And let's dive in this call, and then we'll leave, and then we'll take some questions. So I'm going to call this one. So Anthony, this one looked good.
Somehow we're about to buy this one. I can feel it. Hold
Anthony,
the mic.
What's up, brother? How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'll be super quick with you. My name is Lame. I am an investor out of Utah. I'm calling because I really liked your property on Creosote. Am I saying that right? In Valley, in Vail, in Arizona. Just to give you some context and background of me, I'm out of Utah. I personally own a handful of homes. We do a bunch of short-term rentals. This property in this area specifically, whether people know it or not, is actually positioned well for short-term rentals, and that's what I'm looking at this as. A few things that stuck out to me was that I see that it's been listed for a while, and I want to kind of get some context from you where your sellers are at, how motivated are they, how creative are they, and see if we could strike a deal. But to be very clear, I am an investor. I'm not an agent. I'm just looking for good deals, and I'm ready to buy if we can find one. So that's what I was calling about. Can you tell me a little bit more about the property?
Yeah, so they recently bought it. The price that they're at, they don't have a huge amount of room to negotiate, and I don't think if you're like looking for a subject to, I don't think that they would do anything like that.
Okay,
they're just looking for a traditional, normal sale.
Are they currently living in the property?
They currently are, yeah.
Okay, and then are they? Do they have another property under contract at all, or are they just trying to sell to get out from it and then figure out what they're doing after that?
Yeah, just sell to get out of this one.
Okay. Do you, with them barely buying it, do you know what their what the equity is? Like, what's their underlying?
Not much. I mean, they're barely like just getting out of it.
Okay. And do you know? Because I mean, honestly, that might be a perfect deal. And the only reason I say that is because if they just barely bought it, I can't imagine that there's a ton of equity there, but depending on when they bought it, they might have an incredible interest rate. And so I'm willing.
The rates is just fine. Hey, Alyssa, and we don't want to do a subject to.
Yeah. Well,
just have it sold.
Well, there's a lot of different ways. I mean, there's contract for deeds. Like, we don't have to do a subject to purely, but
yeah,
I mean,
but they don't want to do anything where they're still going to have a mortgage in their name on a property they don't know.
Yeah. Well, and there's a few other ways we can transact it if that's the case. If that's not what they're wanting to do, then we there's a few ways around it. But do you know what the end all like number of their equity is? Like, if we came just with the cash amount of their equity, what would that look like?
I can submit any offer that you want. I really don't know the exact number, but
okay. I mean, is this something that you guys like? I mean, is this something like if you were to have a conversation with them, get them interested to even have that conversation? I mean, like I said, I'm not represented, and so there's a few bonuses to that. One, savings to them, but also maybe a little bit more commission for you. I mean, is there a chance that we could have a conversation with them and determine where can we make this a win-win?
Yeah. So do you want me to present a cash offer and you want me to ask them their best number?
Yeah, I mean, and there's multiple ways you can do it. I mean, if we want to do cash offer, the problem is I mean, a cash offer for me, what makes for me probably doesn't make sense for them. But I mean, if they're like, because you're saying you don't want the mortgage in their name, but if we were to get them a down payment and did a lease option, not a pure sub 2, you're saying that wouldn't be an option for them.
Correct.
Okay. And is there a reason for that? Is it because of DTI, or is it because are they trying to buy something else?
So why don't I do this? Why don't I just have the conversation with them about the creative type stuff you're doing, and then I'll circle back with you.
Okay. Because I mean, whatever they're trying to do, there's a way to structure it to where they get what they want. If they don't want to do sub 2, we don't have to do sub 2, but we can do a lease option, takes the DTI off them. They get their equity. If they're trying to buy something else, they'll still qualify for it. At the end of the day, all I'm after is just a property that we can buy on terms. That makes sense. But I think a big thing with this is going to be determined on what their interest rate is. And so, like, do you know if it's like, is it in the 6s?
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay. All right. Well, if it's in the 6s, then yeah, that's probably okay. I wasn't sure where there was, but if it's below that, then I'd probably be interested. But it sounds like, I mean, between everything you're communicating to me, this may not be the right deal for us. Let me ask you this. I mean, do you have any other properties in your portfolio that you think would be like, you have motivated sellers that would be willing to have a conversation?
No, but I'll keep you in mind if I do.
Okay. All right. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you. Bye. Those are the agents that I don't understand. Like,
Dude, I was gonna say you're only staying on this call, I think, because of we're on the live. Because
oh man,
like,
well, and I think it's and I also am there to prove a point to these agents, and that is there's a lot of ways to transact this property. Like if they don't want to do a sub 2, we'll do a contract for deed. Okay, he doesn't want to mortgage his name. Well, why? So you're trying to get a DTI? Like the only reason somebody doesn't want it in their name is because they're trying to purchase something else and qualify for something else. If that is the case, a lease option and a contract for deed both do that while them also getting their equity. And so it's like there's actually no reason why they wouldn't want to do it if those are solved. And that's why I was trying to get across to him is like, look, dude, I'm just trying to buy a house here and you're making it really difficult. And I was even trying to say, hey, if you can bring them to the table for me to talk to them, I'll even let you represent me. And that's what I do with a lot of these agents is like, if they're just so hard nosed like that, I'm like, let me talk to them. Like, just get them to me. Like, let me talk to them. You can represent us, be the mediator, whatever you need to do. But at the end of the day, let me have that conversation because there's a lot more here to be had than people realize. So go ahead, John.
One important part, I mean, there's a lot of things I could say about that. There's one important point that I think people listening should take note of that will happen on a lot of phone calls is you just straight up ignored the first no, like it didn't even happen, which I've done that plenty of times. The first few times you're like, oh, okay, you shut down and you get off. And but ignoring the very first no, I think is very important. Like you went right and then you kept going for a little bit more, asking a ton more questions. You could tell this guy just did not want to be a part of it for some reason. And I mean, I don't understand realtors that want to not make money, but I just don't get that. I don't get it. We've talked about that 100 times because we've had those conversations so many times. But I think when important when you're making these calls, knowing you're going to get people like that, and there's still a possibility to get a deal out of that. You can still turn that no into a yes with multiple options. And the more you learn and the more you study before you go into these calls and the more you practice them. But you'll get a lot of phone calls, even with agents that are very friendly, agents that or maybe don't understand it or do understand it, that first no is like, no. And then they realize, wait, you're serious. You are an end buyer. You do want this deal to transact. And then it moves the conversation along the line. This guy, that just wasn't happening no matter what.
Absolutely. And it's so funny because real estate agents are by and large the greatest objection in why deals don't transact, in my experience. Like they, for whatever reason, it just is, they just are limited in their capacity of thinking outside of the box. And you don't ever want that. You want to do everything you can to try and make sure that never is the objection, although a lot of times it will be, right? And that's why I don't take the first no. That's why I do everything to say, hey, this is what I'm looking to do. Help me understand more of their situation, because based on what they want, I can come up with a solution of how to transact it to give them everything they want, right? And notice how he was saying, oh, I don't want sub 2. He didn't have a real reason for it. It was because it was like, okay, was it their DTI? They're buying something? No, they just don't want to do it. Okay, cool. Let's do the lease option. And notice now he's flustered and he's just trying to get me off the phone saying, hey, I'll circle back with you. It's like, dude, you just don't want to make money. That's all I hear. That's genuinely all I hear. But in any case,
I think one last question, unless people have more that come up. Do you think I'm assuming realtors just don't know enough about creative financing or need more education?
I think it's both, honestly. Like I think 90% of realtors don't know creative finance, and by way of that, they need more educating. And that's why you never want to come off like what's the word? Patronizing, right? But you do want to make sure you're firm in saying, hey, this is what I do. This is how we do it. This is what we do. And if I just have enough of those calls, I promise you guys, if we just had even just 5-10 more calls, I'll find people that I'll be able to follow up with, and there'll be a presented offer. Like I promise you, if I just have a few more of these calls, we're only limited to an hour, and we've only made 4 calls, John?
4 calls, yeah.
And of that, we found a realtor that was willing to work with us, and we had a lead base. And then the other 3, we at least learned, and we at least got better at our pitches, right? And that's what this game is, guys, is just making sure that you're just calling, having the right conversations. Because if I just find one of the second guy you called of every 10, then I'm finding 2 of those guys every 10. And then guess what? After 20, 30 calls, I have 6 guys that all have 10 listings that all have leads and are all open-minded. the numbers are in your favor at that point, right?
I just want to add, and I think this goes to Bree's comment here about realtors that she can sort the listing into financing and send them to her. Sounds really important to find a good realtor. I think bigger picture than that is one thing Lami's hitting on there, just to hit it home. If you don't want to make these calls forever, you'll get to a point where you have worked with enough realtors that know you're legit, that you follow through, and that they get paid, that they will go find the deal for you and bring it to you already teed up. And then you just negotiate the terms that you want. And so if you want deals at some point, and I already know, because Lami, you told me you did 6 months where you made 5 calls a day, right? Or was it 10 calls?
Yep. It was almost 20.
Okay,
that was the goal but I would talk to less and have less good conversations before I got to my 20 every day.
Exactly. And so the whole idea there is like, it was 6 months of that. And now you have more deals sent to you than you're buying. Right. And
absolutely.
And so if you want to create that, you start with these calls and eventually you'll get way better at them. You'll have a higher close rate on these. You'll make more offers. But what will happen is you'll create this funnel of deals now coming to you from realtors. I closed one deal in Indiana from a realtor who has since sent me like 7 properties just in the last, month and a half. Of people that are open to talking about seller finance. So you do that times whatever, how many you have, Lame, and you do that time, you spend the time, you do that for a year and get 30 realtors working for you across the country. Like, you can close a lot of deals without having to make these outreach calls. So, but this 100%. Is how.
So guys, our time's up. There's one more question. Tina, I see you. Tina, welcome, by the way. Thanks for joining. So Tina asked, how are your for sale by owners different than on-market homes? A lot of times they are a little bit more harder to get past the initial barrier because they're getting bombarded by agents. And so like, they're just getting blown up by agents, by people wanting to represent them. And so there's a lot of like initial, like overcoming that you need to come from, but being able to get them on the phone real quick and say, hey, I'm a buyer. Like, that actually goes a lot further with them than anything else. And so, so that was a good question. So guys, we are out of time. Hopefully you guys found this valuable. Again, this is the day-to-day, and we have bought dozens, like legitimately dozens in the last 24 months utilizing this. Not just me, but my students. John has bought a property this way. And I think when John started, he was like your 4th call. And then
I think so, 3rd or 4th call. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like his 3rd or 4th call and he did it. Right. This is a game of just doing the grit, right? Like just doing the gritty stuff to be able to do it. And honestly, it's not very gritty at all. It's just picking up the phone call and just making 10 calls a day. You'll find a deal. Right. But I get this question all the time. We wanted to bring you guys real value of how we did it. So hopefully this is valuable. I did leave the script in the link. So you see it there. I don't know. How do you pin this, John? Can you pin that?
I don't know, but if you click on it, it's not working. So I'm looking to see. Let me see.
Is it not working?
Oh, here. This one's working. Let me try this one.
Dun, 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 dun. Let me make sure that we have the right link. In any case, I'll make sure you guys get it. I will leave that link in the comments. And then if you guys have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and let us know. You can reach myself, John, or Kyle. Guys, we do have a community where we teach specifically on this and we go in detail and depth. There's a lot more to this. I'm sure a lot of you guys are watching this and it was like, wow, that was a lot. Like, and you have a lot of questions, and it's because we try to condense a lot of information into 1 hour. But
try the link I just posted, guys. See if that works. Try the link. That one worked on my computer. Try that one.
Yep, try that one. Thank you. And
actually,
John,
that might even be the wrong one.
We will get you the link. We will get you the link so that you guys have it.
That one. That was the wrong one.
Okay. Hey, well, in any case, you guys have a good rest of your evening. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Again, we're trying to bring real value to you guys week to week. We are going to be doing next week. I don't know the topic, but we'll make sure we announce it. Appreciate you guys. You guys have a good rest of your night. Until next time, y'all stay safe.
Let's go.
Peace.